Welcome into the Cam and Strick Podcast, episode number 10. What's up, Cam Jansen?
What up?
How are you?
What up? I'm good, man. I'm doing good.
Why you sound so down?
Well, there's a lot of negative stories going on in the NHL, and we're going to dig into that with Daniel Carcillo.
Why are you in a bad mood?
I'm good, baby.
I don't understand why you're so down.
Am I ever down?
Well, you sounded
Am
like
I
it.
ever down?
I mean, have some energy.
Get on with yourself.
We're here for the podcast.
I'm pumped up, baby.
This is the Cam and Strick Podcast, brought to you by Cope24.
Exactly.
Cope24.com. We'll tell you about that later on. Daniel Carcillo. Now, he wants to go by Daniel, not Dan or Danny.
I know.
You called him Danny the whole podcast.
I called him Danny. No, he
It's
accepted
Daniel.
it. No, I called him Danny.
He's been creating a lot of headlines.
Yeah.
He's all over social media. He's upsetting a lot of former players. He's upsetting a lot of people who have followed the game. But you know what? I think after you listen to this podcast, I don't know, maybe you'll feel differently in terms of what his motive is and what he's trying to do.
And it's funny, I actually talked to him on the phone. Like, it's not like I just read his tweets and listen to his podcast, Facebook Live.
Lay in bed late at night.
I call him on the phone, and I talk to him for hours. And I try to dig into his psyche a little bit. And, he's going through some tough times. And I understand a lot where he's coming from. There's a lot I don't understand and I don't agree with, and he knows that too. But
we don't hear that from Cam because you kind of puckered up in this interview.
Not really. I mean, did I really? Did I pucker up in this damn interview? What the hell are you talking about? No.
We'll let the listener be the judge.
We'll let the listener be the judge. Beak me all you want. I don't know what I'm going to beak him for. I said I don't agree with you on the NHL and the hitting and the fighting. I want it all in there.
Yeah.
But as far as the hazing and getting pissed
on,
I don't
that should
fucking
never
agree
happen.
With that. You got that?
Yeah, I don't agree with that. I said
so
that.
That's what the fuck I said.
I said that.
Don't fucking fire me up.
Well, finally,
God.
now we got some energy from Cam Jansen 25.
Oh, now you do?
Yeah, now you have some energy. I needed that. You were a little down there at the beginning of this open. All right, we don't want to talk too much. Right. We want you to hear the interview. I think you'll enjoy this as you do each and every week. Again, we love the feedback that we've been getting from everybody out there. We had Sean Avery on in last week's or the previous episode. We've had some great guests on here.
Always do.
Some more great guests to come.
Big dogs.
Enjoy this one, and then we'll talk after here on the Cam and Strick Podcast. Episode number 10. I'm Andy Strickland. Cam Jansen is in the house. We're at the Normal brand. Should throw it out. Everything's 30% off. Cam will never pay full price for anything.
I look sexy with their shit on.
Okay, well, 30% off. You want to come on in, check out their website. You can buy online. You can come in to the store as well. Here in the heart of Ladue. You never know who we're going to have on.
No.
Okay? People who create headlines, we look for those individuals. What are they thinking? What makes them tick? And looking forward to this conversation here with Dan Carcillo. Dan, welcome into the show.
What do we call you? Do we call you Danny? Do I call you Car? What do I call you? What's your nickname, dude?
I go by Daniel these days.
Daniel. It's so sophisticated.
Wow.
Yeah, that's my name. It's my name on my birth certificate.
Damn right, Daniel.
Where are you from?
Buddy.
Where are you from?
King City, Ontario.
Oh, Alex Petrangelo territory.
I know you're on your way going from Kentucky to Chicago. The Blues played Chicago tonight. You played for the Blackhawks. You're with your boy. You're doing your thing. You're at a CBD oil event. You texted me that. Explain where you're at today and what you got going on.
Yeah, so what I did this year was I did a lot of research. When a lot of the concussion clinics, a lot of those strategies weren't working for me. So what I did was started researching supplements and what to do with the brain and what actually happens with traumatic brain injury. And so I landed on CBD as an anti-inflammatory. And so what I did was I grew my own medicine. I drove down to Kentucky. I processed it. And what I did the last 2 days was drive back down to Kentucky, Louisville specifically, to work with a flavor house to flavor the nano rapid release tinctures that I'm going to be releasing that I've been using as part of my recovery protocol.
All right, so people should know this. It's not just for head injuries, right? I mean, you can use it for inflammation, for anything from arthritis to anything else you're dealing with.
Absolutely, yes. Any types of, I believe any types of mental health issues can help with anxiety, it can help with depression, it can help with sleep issues, and obviously I'm not going to be able to say that on the website, but on a podcast, I can definitely say that it works because it's worked for me. You know,
Riley Cote, a tough guy that I got my ass kicked by a couple times. I'm not gonna lie to you, Daniel. But he's an advocate of marijuana and trending off of painkillers. If you're injured, try this. Try the CBD. It will help you. The devil is the painkillers, and trust me on that. And you could ask a ton of people in the hockey world and in the sports world. Danny Carcillo, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, buddy. I was in the substance abuse program and in the NHL that they offered. I went through 2 addictions to those opiates, to those synthetic heroin drugs, and really those are made in a lab by a doctor in a white lab coat with no windows, and he's formulating specific formulas to be able to target a specific area of your brain to get a certain desired effect. And I think what we've seen with Big Pharma and the war on drugs is that it's not working. And so more information is coming out now, more research into these plant medicines and their amazing healing properties. And Riley's the one who introduced me to this. Riley's the one who reached out to me when I was in a really bad way. Obviously, the anger, the frustration, the sadness of my advocacy work and my message is starting to show through a little more than the actual message. So I'm grateful to him, always will be, that and it wasn't only, this specific plant medicine that helped me. It was also a handful of fungi. So, man,
right.
It's something that I will advocate for the rest of my life because it saved my life. And I was making plans to end my life because I thought that I was a burden to people. I thought I couldn't be around people anymore because of the way I was acting. Because the way I was acting, I knew that wasn't me. And I just couldn't control it. So I really have dove into the research the last 3.5, almost 4 years of my life to recover my brain health. And 3 weeks ago now, I got a clear QEEG. So for the first time, this protocol has proven that it's been working. I also checked my hormones, so it's not just CBD. It's not a cure-all. I implemented intermittent fasting. I've done some things with my diet. I stay mindful. I do mindfulness practices every single morning. There's things I do. There's things I don't do in the morning, like touch my phone or go on emails as soon as I wake up. And so I don't want people to get it twisted, right? There's no magic pill that's going to fix you. You have to look at your whole life, and you have to look at recovery really in a positive manner, and know that you will get better. Because this didn't change for me after a month. It didn't change for me after 2 months. It took around the three month mark where there was a shift, where I looked at the plants that I'd planted and I thought to myself, wow, you're doing a really good job. And that thought it blew my mind up because I've never talked to myself that way. I have never, ever positively used positivity as fuel, ever. It was always negativity. It was always, you fucking, you this, get going, the way that these coaches used to talk to us at the age of 4.
We're going to get into that. We're going to get into that.
But it all ties together, right? It's this self-talk, right? With TBI patients, with TBI survivors, the biggest thing that we lose is our sense of self. So I think people start getting frustrated really quickly. And I want people to know, and I want to say this, that just practice patience, because you can and you will get better. It just takes some time.
Let's get into what you've been. I watch you, or I read everything on Twitter, Carbomb13 on Twitter, and you're keeping that name to remind you of how you were when you played. I remember I watch a lot of things that you do, Danny, and that's one of the things that you've said, that you're going to keep that nameplate. But how it all started was in hockey. And a lot of things in juniors that you've been really, really talking about with some of these coaches that you've dealt with, and one in Sarnia. When I was playing for fucking Windsor, and I remember hearing about this shit in Sarnia, and Jeff Perry, and some of the hazing that went on. Now, you're on Twitter right now, and you're dissecting it like no other. Give us an example of what went on in that fucking locker room with these coaches and these players, what they did to some of these rookies. And let me say this one more time. Notice that I'm long-winded here, and I don't give a shit. Andy's giving me the fucking look. Settle down, Andy. Here's the deal. When you're 16, 17 years old, you don't know yourself yet. I'm gone away from my fucking family. You're away from your family. And all of a sudden you go into this situation and you got to get buck naked and you get thrown into the shower. It F's you up for a long, long time. I didn't get to go through it, but I heard about this. Danny, tell us what went down in that Sarnia locker room and how this all started.
Yeah, so it all started, I believe, with Jeff Perry harboring an environment that allowed these veterans to do this. And since I've had a lot of discussions with these guys, and what I've realized is they're just as broken as I was. And a lot of them have apologized, but Jeff hasn't. So that's why I keep seeking accountability. But with these veterans, what they would do, things that they would do is on a daily basis, 12 of us, we'd have to sit in our stall. And when they came around to us, it was called Muncie time. So Ryan Muntz was a backup goaltender, or the starting goaltender. They didn't like him because he was an intellectual and academic. He was smart, and he just didn't fit the mold of a regular, tough, closed-minded type of hockey player. And so what they would do is they cut off his paddle to his goalie stick, and they would make us pull our pants down in front of our stall, and one by one, a veteran would come up and give you a lick on the ass. And it would be a hard lick, and they would tell you things like, if you flinch, you're going to get another one. If you flinch, you're going to get it worse. And that was true. But they went systematically one by one every single day to our stalls and made us do this. And that's just one thing that happened. There were numerous other incidences, like sitting us down in the shower. So we had 12 of the rookies. So every other day you would have to sit in the shower as veterans showered, and then you were able to shower. But as they showered, some of them would piss on you and spit chew on you. And there was one incident that I reported today on Twitter because, again, Jeff doesn't want to come clean, so I'm going to keep the pressure up. That he walked in to shave, he looked, he kind of giggled, and then he walked out.
So now listen,
man.
you're
And
young,
then,
right?
No. Yeah. I'm a minor. We're all minors.
How old are you here?
I was 17 years old.
Are you telling your parents back home what's going
my
on?
Not.
Fucking dad.
How could I tell my parents? My parents would come down there in a second and grab me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to make the NHL.
Yeah.
Of course not. Why would I tell my parents? Then my dream would be over. So you shut up and you do it, and you fucking grin and bear it. And there was another incident where Dave Pichesny was taped up ass naked to a table, legit taped up, his whole body, and guys were whipping him. And this was right after school, so it wasn't a full room yet. And I'm sitting in my stall, and they're like, "You're next." I'm like, "Fucking perfect, great."
Were you like, "Fuck you, you're going me right now. I'm gonna fucking fight you"?
Not at that point. No, there was a breaking point, and I could get to that. But then Jeff came out of the room and saw what they were doing. Right, because Dave was screaming. So then what did he do? Chris Newberry handed him the belt and said, "Here, just take a little whack," and Jeff did.
He came in there and took the paddle and hit his own.
It was a belt. It was a belt.
Oh, fuck,
and yeah,
whatever.
just in a joking manner. Okay, like it wasn't like a huge rap, but and I say that because I want to stick to the facts of the story and. But regardless, what does that tell all the veterans? Keep it going.
It's a green
boys,
light,
right? Let's go.
Light.
Green light. So that's where I say that he harbored this environment. And then the breaking point, Cam, came after a game in London. It was about a 40-minute bus ride. They kept us they stuffed us into the washroom naked. They taped up our clothes and they threw our clothes in there. And then as we were in the washroom, about 7 or 8 of us, they were throwing piss into the washroom by opening the door and then through the vents and cups of chew. And this is just the kind of stuff that you would have to endure if you wanted to make the NHL and you were playing for Sarnia. And I know that it's still happening, maybe not to the level, or I shouldn't even say that. I know that it's still happening, right? That this abuse is still happening and that there's kids out there and there's kids who are adults now who are still carrying this trauma like I was that didn't even realize it's trauma that was spilling into their everyday life and affecting their relationships and the way they viewed the world. And I can't stand for it. And I won't stop until they hold themselves accountable. And even then, I probably won't stop because I've given him a year to come clean. Almost a year and a half.
Is he still coaching? What's he doing?
Yeah, he's still coaching kids. And
Where?
He's still doing camps.
Where?
In Sarnia, in Moortown.
Okay, so let me ask you this: was this the norm, you think, across junior hockey? I mean, hazing.
I told you, Andy.
Andy, what I just told you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Cam knew about it, right?
I did know about it.
Other guys on other teams knew about it, right? Mm-hmm. So that means management knew about it.
Yep.
Okay, and that means higher ups knew about it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and people didn't do anything about it. So, like, he needs to be reprimanded because not only that, I got blamed for his firing. Me and John Hekimovic got blamed for his firing. You want to hear about that?
Yeah.
We can get to that.
Like after a game in Guelph, all right. And by the way, the last story that I was telling with the washroom, that's when I came out swinging. That was kind of the breaking point.
Fuck.
All right, and then my last final the straw that broke the camel's back. It actually didn't even happen in that rookie year, but it was the following year where the verbal abuse and all that stuff continued from Jeff and the emotional torment. And we were in first place, or 1 point out of first place, so we were doing really well. And it was a game in Guelph, and he sat me and Heck for, I think, the better part of the whole game because we each took a bad penalty, which was standard for me, right? So then he proceeds to sit me and Heck in the front seat, and the coaches always sit at the front. So he sat with Greg Walters by his side, and he was whispering in between the seat, like just all of his choice words in his narrative, okay, for 4 hours. For 4 hours on the way back to Sarnia, me and Heck sat up there at the front of the bus, and don't tell me that no management behind or whoever else was on that bus didn't hear it, because I know they did. And me and Heck walked off that bus. We didn't touch our bags. We got in the car and we drove straight. It was either Cicerelli's house or we called Terry Doran.
Oh, yeah.
And we drove straight, and we just said, we've had it. We're done. It's either us two, and we were two of the best players.
Fuck yeah.
Or it's him. And so then, get this. Then he gets fired, right? Okay? And then a story comes out. They write the story. They didn't want to tell the press, right? Because, and Jeff got ahead of it after he got fired and said, they said it wasn't hockey-related issues. That's all they said. And Terry Doran wanted to break the news because the paper blamed me and Heck for being prima donnas and that we weren't getting enough ice time and that Jeff got fired because he sat us. That's not why Jeff got fired, right? So then Terry Doran's like, I want to correct this. That's not what happened. Guess who he got a call from? David Branch. What did David Branch say? Don't say a goddamn word.
And of course, right? David Branch is the commissioner of the OHL for people who don't know.
He was then, I don't know if he still is
now. He's in charge of the entire CHL, I believe.
Oh, perfect.
So he'll be talking to Carcillo.
Parents can feel really safe about that.
So let me ask you this, Daniel. Let me ask you this. What are you looking for? What do you want? You want him to come out and
accountability. I want accountability. And I honestly, now I'm at the point where I want a police investigation to how far back, how much corruption, how much cover-up there is, because these guys are sloppy.
You think this is still going on? You think it's still going on?
These predators are not smart individuals. And yes, it is. I have stories in my inbox. I have 300 plus stories that I continue to get daily from 6 days ago when Akeem broke his story. And I said, please just reach out to me if you have any others so that you can get it off your chest, because the first step in healing is telling somebody. So that's what I offered. And now I've got over 300. And that's why I started naming names, because when I see your name 10 or 20 times with people that are willing to come forward and cooperate, and then people that are willing to stand up to you, even if this does go to a court of law, that's why I name names, because that is the only way that this will change, because there is a cover-up. And that's why I say it's like the Catholic Church. This is a cover-up that goes so deep. And the only way it got broken open was because of Don Cherry, who's the Pope, and Mike Babcock, who's a bishop. I
saw that tweet. I saw that tweet.
When those two fall, then everybody gets the confidence, like, whoa, wait a minute, I can actually enact change by telling my truth. That's why Mitch Marner has confidence now, right? That's where the power shift is happening, and that's what needs to happen.
Are you looking to eliminate and to all types of hazing, or just hazing in terms of how it relates to hockey?
I am looking to tell my truth. That's it. And this is my story. Do with it what you guys will. You haven't done anything with it for a year, so now I'm going to force your hand.
Well, you got the whole league. You got the whole league. You got the league, and you got the league action going on right now.
Good.
And get there.
It's not just that. It's not just that. Wait till you guys find out what they did to Steve Monador in this trial coming up. You wait. You think this is bad? You think this is bad? You wait.
And I know, and Stevie, and I know he was close with you, and I fought him a bunch of times. He's a fucking warrior. Just like, I remember running guys, and I look at him, and he's like, Cam, and just the look in his face, like, I know I don't want to do this, but I'm a fucking warrior, and I'm going to fucking do it anyway. And the poor guy, and I'm a young kid at the time, so I'm like, I don't give a shit about it. I couldn't read it at the time, but you go back and look at the fights, I'm like, oh my God, if I only knew what was going through his head at the time, but man,
I fought him. Cam. Imagine that. Before, we became best friends. It's just what you do, man. It's self-preservation, right? That's what they teach us. That's why we're such savages. That's why people who are like millennials, they're looking at this game and they're like, oh my God.
Oh, they're freaking out.
What is wrong with these people, right? Because guess what, Cam? There is something wrong with us. And you know what it is? It's because of the way we've been taught this game. It's not the right way. It's not the right way. This power struggle that's going on is crazy.
I hear you on that. Daniel, I hear you on that. Now, and we've talked about this on the phone, and I told you I was crazy, and hockey did save me. Like, I didn't fight because I had to. I did it because I wanted to. It was
your emotional release,
and it worked. And honestly, it saved me because I could control it and put it into something positive. And maybe at the time you look at some of the shit I did, and you're like, oh my God! But it was part of it at the time. And if I wasn't playing hockey, I don't know what I would do to be able to release that. Now,
let me say this then. Let me say this. I'm grateful for everything that's happened to me. Okay, I wouldn't have met the people that I've met who are in my life now. I wouldn't have the family. It wouldn't have been put in front of me without hockey, okay? Now, that being said, I'm cognizant of the fact that how much work I put into it, right? And the dedication that I put towards the sport. And this isn't about trying to tear this sport down. This is just about something that I truly believe is the only way forward, because there's just been so much cover-up. And I don't, like, in my heart of hearts, man, do I want to be even dedicating half of my energy towards this? No. But I do it because I know how much it helps people, And so if it can help people, and if the sport helped you, that's awesome. And guess what? Why do you think I had the nickname Car Bomb? Why do you think I don't want to relinquish that from my Twitter handle? Right? Even though all this sexual abuse and physical abuse and verbal abuse and emotional abuse happened to me, I can look back on it now, and I'm grateful for it. Now, saying that, there's still, you'd be crazy not to think that there's still anger and frustration there and wanting some sort of accountability. Yes, there's definitely that. And so how do you go about it, right, Cam? Do you go to the inside where it's been so toxic and there's been so many lies? Or do you just take to your own platform and you let the chips fall? Look at what's happening. Look at what's happening. Another trainer just got fired today, and just look. So that means that since a year and a half ago, I've been saying this. There's something there, man. There's something there that is really, really wrong, and it needs to change. I truly believe the only way it can change is if we name names and these people step away, get rehabilitated, and then come on back to the sport.
Yeah, let me ask you this, because what do you think? I want your opinion here. Are these people, because like I said, hazing exists with high school football teams, other sports as well, right?
Yeah.
Right?
But yeah.
Are these people, are they bad people in your opinion, or are they just a product of their environment where it was looked the other way and it was considered, hey, this is the norm? Young kids come in, they get hazed, and I would never, ever defend any of those actions, man. And I'm sorry you had to go through that.
Andy hazed me today.
I mean that.
No.
But what do you want to happen to these people? Do you think they're bad people, or they were just a product of a negative environment that was considered the norm?
Let me say this. I'm guilty of the abuse that I talk about. I'm guilty of bullying people.
What do you mean?
I'm guilty of it. You don't think that I verbally abused people? You don't think that I said racist, homophobic remarks?
I think you did verbally abuse me one time when you kicked my ass on the ice.
So what?
Course,
so have you been rehabilitated then? Like,
I'm kidding.
Do you need to be rehabilitated? Like, what should happen to you? I'm curious.
Do I not sound rehabilitated?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So I've been to rehabilitation, right? I've changed the way that I view the world. I've peeled back my onion. I know that everything that I learned in that community is wrong because I'm in the real world. I'm not in the hockey community anymore, and I'm sorry, but that hockey community, it's not the real world. It's very sheltered. It's very small. So I need to tell my story to wake people up. So they need to admit the first step in recovery is what? Admitting you have a problem. So yes, there is a problem. Do I blame them? Do I think they're bad people? There's no judgment there. I just want them to get better. And the only way that I think you can get better, and the only way that I think other people can learn from what's actually happening here, is if it's in the public eye. And some people agree, some people don't. But that's not for me to decide, because what I'm doing is empowering victims. I'm not worried about what's wrong with the predators. Right? I'm not worried about how they feel. People that who go against me are guilty, and they're worried about saying what I can say right now, that I've been a bully. I've been sick, right? Like, we are all trauma-filled in that community, and we learn from guys that were all traumatized. The system, man, the system, and the way that we learn in that system, the way they think they have to teach us through fear-based learning and through like walking on eggshells and really demeaning us in front of people and leaning on us. It's just not, I don't believe in it. I do not believe in it, because now I know how much energy I get from negativity, anger, and frustration, and then flip that on its head. I know how much energy I get from happiness, positivity, and being creative, and focusing on a goal like this, which is all positive in my mind. I know that there's some negatives that have to come out of it, but that's just the way that the hockey world needs to learn, because the reality, this is the reality. The only way the NHL or NHLPA or any of these hockey organizations learn is through public pressure, is when they lose money. And I think you can both agree to that. That's when they make changes.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Now, people are criticizing you on your take on the NHL as a whole, as far as the physicality is concerned. Of course, we all know what you and I did growing up, and when we played, we were absolutely animals.
All the NHL has to do is tell the truth. If they inform the players of the inherent risks of doing your job and receiving repetitive head trauma, and you sign on the dotted line and you want to monetize that, good for you. Then it's in your hands. They're not liable. I could give about the rule changes and all that shit. That's what my stance is. Okay. I just want them to tell the truth, because guys still currently do not know the truth. And we could delve into why that is, but there's a investigative report that I'm doing behind the scenes that will expose all that. For the doctors, the 28 doctors who are affiliated heavily with collision sports, but also weigh in on the consensus statements that were last made in 2016 in Berlin. So that specific consensus statement goes to the recommendations of our return to play, return to work protocol. So that story is coming out. So if the NHL just can somehow get past these lawsuits, like for the next 4 or 5 years, then maybe they'll make a change. But again, that's not my prerogative, man. I really the rule changes. I don't care. I just want to see. Like, I have my opinion. I don't think fighting should be in the game. I don't think bare knuckle boxing should be in the game. But that's my opinion, and we don't have to agree, right? None of us have to agree on it. But that's just my opinion. As far as body checking, just tell the guys like the real risks that they're under. There's a photo on my Instagram that I've posted of I think it was 66 hits or so, or 66 concussions in a 3 to 4 month span, and 60% of them were from legal hits to the body. Right? So, like, that's what's causing the most damage. It's not necessarily the fights, but. No. Although I think me and you both know that the fights cause a lot of damage. And so, that's my stance, man. Informed consent, just tell the truth. And then please, do it soon so that I can go focus on other things.
Okay, so listen, you made some headlines, though, this past week about Daryl Sutter. You know, the Sutter name it's big here in St. Louis because Brian Sutter was the longest tenured captain ever in the history of the Blues. Legendary name. The Sutter name is legendary throughout hockey circles. We know that. What do you want to happen to these coaches who may have done something in the past? Because, you know, some people, and I think that's probably why Kelly Chase spoke up.
King Clancy Award.
He wants to defend Daryl Sutter and whatever. These are people who have given their life to the sport of hockey. So can you understand why some people would go out of their way to defend individuals who have had success and who may have acted out in a way that you look back on it and you say, hey, man, that was crazy. You disagree with it. But at the time, maybe it was considered the norm for the coach-player relationship, and they did a lot of good for the game and for the sport. Like, can you understand why some people would be on the other side of the fence here, Daniel?
Of course. What I can't understand is why they want to focus on the vast majority of guys that are happy with them and then not worry about the ones that were abused, that have been covered up, that the RCMP have leaned on when they wanted to tell their story. There's a long history here, man. And so I'm not going to talk too much more about it. I'll let it all come out in these investigative reports that are initiated. And then you guys can decide, you know, how you want to view him. But the truth will come out. And I know the truth. And I've seen it firsthand with Daryl. So I have my opinions. And again, you know, I've told you, you know, what I think should happen. They need to admit fault publicly and get rehabilitated.
How's your head right now, Daniel? How do you feel, dude?
I have never felt better.
Okay, because fucking a year ago we talked on the phone and you were fucked up. Dude.
I know, I was still struggling, but I have never felt better in my life. The last 7 months of my life have been amazing, and I know that there's people who are my followers who are going to be listening to this, and they could take some solace in knowing that their energy and that their support has helped me get better. I've changed my mindset. I've changed the way that I view this world, but I don't want people to get it twisted. Even though I've found healing, I still have that fire in my gut to hold people accountable, and I am a worker. I think everybody knows how I played the game, and that's how I live my life no matter what I do. So it's coming.
What if Andy coaches AAA and the kids abuse him? Have you ever heard anything like that before? I'm kidding.
I haven't.
That could be.
I mean, I'm sure there's player-coach abuse for sure. I mean, I'm sure it's happened before.
Probably.
It's probably not an anomaly.
So, what's the end game here for you, Daniel? Like, how long do you plan on being vocal? Do you want to be at the forefront and an advocate for a lot of the stuff that you're talking about? Do you want to go away and be quiet? Like, what are you trying to accomplish here?
I want justice for my friend Steve Monador, specifically in the TBI world. That's what I'm trying to accomplish. I want people to know the truth. I want people to know that the Blackhawks cleared him for 4 concussions in 12 weeks. I want people to know about all of those individuals in that organization and what they did to him.
Even like Bugard. Too, eh? Remember,
Bugart's after, right? So there's Steve's case, then there's Kelly Ewan with Todd Ewan, and then there's my case, and then there's the Bugart case, and there's a couple more cases. So again, I say, you know, it's a slow drip for the NHL, and how long are they going to be able to sustain this before they make actual changes? I don't know, you know, and I just hope to God that none of these people take a settlement. Because I'm doing this, it's not for money. It's for them to admit fault. And if you take a settlement, then you have to sign an NDA, and then none of the truth comes out. So I just hope that doesn't happen. But I'm a critical witness in Steve Monador's case. So one of my biggest reasons for getting healthy, other than myself and my family, is so that I can bring justice to the Monador fan.
Was Monty on painkillers?
No.
Okay, so he didn't.
No, not that I know.
Okay, so he was just depression. With the Bugard case, he was heavily on painkillers, hardcore.
You know, Derek was sick. He wasn't told the truth. You know, he had signs and symptoms of brain injury, brain damage, and CTE. And guess what? A symptom of CTE or brain damage is when you can't recognize the signs and symptoms. You don't know why this anxiety and depression is living within you. it becomes really, really, really difficult. And so what you do is you usually turn to substances that you can use to numb this pain. And a pretty common script after you had a brain injury or concussion in the NHL was a script of opiates. And then now
like
I
Skittles.
think back to it, and it's like, wait, why was that? Because that obviously doesn't help anything with everything that I know of the brain and this specific chemical. And I truly believe it was because they didn't want you to feel the actual effects. They wanted to lessen those effects of the concussions so that you really didn't think that they were that bad. So it's systematic, man. They used to walk up and down the aisles with envelopes and hand out whatever you wanted. That changed around 2008.
I remember that.
Yeah, you remember that.
Fuck yeah.
So it's being overprescribed and undereducated every single corner that you turn around.
Danny, how many people, former players, people from the league, have asked you to stop talking?
A lot. There's been threats. There's steps that I've had to make. I'm currently going to end the NHLPA insurance so they can't have my address and my phone number. And yeah, there's systematic steps that I'm taking right now to ensure the safety of myself and my family.
It's gotten that bad?
Yeah.
Wow.
But I'm not stopping. So I just want them to know that. And if something happens to me, there's also steps that I've taken to ensure that if that does come, then there'll be an investigation.
Would it be frowned upon? The one thing that did happen to me, I'm not going to lie to you, is we were in 05 lockout year, and the guys made us dress as women, and we were all having fun.
Cam's like, I do that anyway.
Fuck yeah, let me look fucking sexy. And they went to a bowling alley, and Aaron Voros' nutsack was hanging out all the way down to the floor, and it scared away the women and children. But we were all laughing about it. But if we said to them, no, I'm not dressing like a woman, they'd be like, okay, we're just going to chirp you a little bit, but you don't. But that was the full extent of what I went through, and it was a funny thing, and we all collectively came together. But no one was pissing on us. Mm-hmm. No one was. We weren't naked in a room getting spanked by our coaches, which is the most fucking bizarre thing in the world. And I will say this, Danny Carcillo, I don't like that, and it's not right. It's not right. We disagree on a lot of things, Danny, when it comes to the NHL, and I still want the fighting in, and I like that.
Well, a lot of people,
shit.
Cam, you're probably included. You probably be the first to admit.
What?
No fighting. You don't have an NHL career.
Well, I was a hitter. Danny Carcillo. I was a hitter. Danny knows.
Were you?
I was a hitter.
You were a hitter.
I could toe drag now, by the way. I just learned. I just fucking learned that.
Your hands were getting. You showed some.
Don't lie.
Hey,
for sure.
Don't lie.
Oh, yeah.
Cam was 30 years old and still going to prospect camp.
Shut up.
Just working on his skills.
Well, I mean, he did his job well, man.
He did. There's no doubt. But that's why I think there's a lot of guys out there. And certainly not the case anymore. You got to be able to play in the National Hockey League.
You got to be able to play.
But there's a lot of guys, I'm sure, that are taking offense to what you're saying because the reality is they knew what they were getting into. That was their job. They know what they signed up for. And without that role and without fighting being as prevalent as it was, they wouldn't have the life that they ended up living. They would never be able to play in the National Hockey League or have any career, right?
They had no idea what they were getting into because, again, nobody told us the risks of playing our sport and repetitive head trauma.
If you had to do it over again, would you not play? Would you not play?
I don't agree with that statement at all. So if I had the information that I had today,
mm-hmm.
and what are you asking me? If I'm a 34-year-old male and if I'm going to go back and start training, and I mean, I'm not going to. I don't live in what ifs.
No, I'm saying
if I had the information that I have today that says 3 or more traumatic brain injuries, they made a recommendation in 1952.
Mm-hmm.
That you should stop playing sports, collision sports, then yeah, that's probably what I would have listened to. And if the doctors have any integrity, they would hold that, right? Like we wouldn't be getting into a situation that we're reading every single other week where guys are getting 2 concussions in 8 months, guys are getting 4 in less than 2 years, and they're still playing. So when the truth comes out about how bad brain injuries are, and when the propaganda machine stops convincing people like you that helmets can help negate, that they put posters up so that we should know. We didn't know anything because they didn't tell us anything. Because if you research what's going on, they withheld all that information because they wanted to sell violence, hate, and rivalries. So I don't agree with your statement. And I don't agree with the question that you're asking me, man. If you asked me, like, is my son going to play hockey? The answer is no. And I'm a 2-time Stanley Cup winner. The answer is no. He will not be going near a rink, and neither will my daughters.
Well, he's not playing football either, then.
No, he's not. But guess what he is going to do? He's going to play golf, and he's going to play soccer since they took the heading out. Okay. You know, so. Yeah.
Don't assume that I read into any propaganda machine.
Oh, you do?
No, I don't.
Well, with your questions you're asking
no, but
me,
you've made yourself the face of this initiative, so I'm asking you the question.
I didn't make myself anything. You say that. You say that.
You're the one.
You say that.
No, you're the one on social media putting it out there, dude.
I'm a guy who's talking about his experience. If you want to go talk about yours, I'm not going to fault you for that. I'm not the one trying to be the face of any movement. I'm just a guy telling his experience. I'm sorry that you don't like it, Andy.
No, it's not about whether I like it or not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
I could hear it in your voice, and I could hear it with your questions, man.
I could hear it in his voice, too.
And it's okay. We can disagree, right? We can disagree, but people like you are still sleeping, and I'm trying to wake people like you up. So if you go back to my feed, you can do the research and read the emails, and you'll see. I think you'll see that what they did was wrong. And if that doesn't convince you, just wait for the trial and wait for the facts to come out. That'll convince you.
No, I'm with you, man. If you want to educate, then you need to be willing to educate and understand that not everybody's going to feel the same way as you do. Not everyone's going to look at it the same way.
Trust me, man. I understand that. I do. I really do. But you're insinuating that I'm trying to be some face of a movement when I'm not.
Okay.
Like, I'm not. You know. I'm just telling my story.
But you've become that now. But you are the face of the movement.
Great. If that's the case, then I love being the symbol of victims, and the symbol is strength. Great, right? But it's not to make sure the NHL changes their ways. That's not what I'm doing at all. Okay, I'm just exposing them for what they are. And if they want to change their ways, then great, go ahead.
Well, Danny Carcillo, where are you at right now? Are you in northern Kentucky?
Are you in Kentucky?
Are you in northern Kentucky right now?
I don't even know where I am.
Where the fuck are you right now?
Boys. And listen, man, we can talk like this,
right? Yes.
And
I'm just giving Andy shit too.
Honestly, we can, Andy. Like, I'm not, I don't mind it because, again, I'm a guy that can have these types of conversations, you know, and I don't get hurt by them, and I hope you don't either, because we really don't have to agree, because I know, man, trust me, I get a lot of hate for this.
Listen,
right?
you wouldn't hurt my feelings, okay? I've been covering the NHL now for 2 decades. I've been around Hall of Famers who have played north of 1,000 games, who live a great life. They got a ton of money, and they don't share the same experiences that you do. I'm around a guy like Cam Jansen who played several years, who fought for a living. He doesn't share the same experience that you do. So everyone kind of has to individualize their own experience, what they went through, do their best to communicate that. And it's not about convincing me or convincing somebody else. I'm listening, man. And your stories are different than others. And it's okay for me to ask questions to try to have a better idea or a better feel for why you feel the way you do, man, and why your experience was what it was.
I understand that. I just think, I think some of those questions could have been framed a little differently.
You're not going to get that all the time, though, Danny.
No, of course
you know that.
Not, but I trust me, I understand, guys. I came on this podcast fully understanding that, right? And I'll go on others understanding that I know what you guys believe in, right? I'm not naive to the fact of what you guys stand for. And I'm really glad, honestly, man, I'm glad that you guys had really positive experiences in hockey, and a lot of people have. Let me say that, right? Why do you think I played like car bomb? Do you think that the abuse that I endured had something to do with it, and the way that I played the game as an emotional release since the age of 5? Because I think so. Okay, I was a complete psycho on the ice, and that's why I'm ashamed.
I thought you were normal.
And that's why, right, man. That was one of the reasons that teams kept signing me, because I was so unpredictable.
Yeah, I know.
And you were good too. You didn't have to play that way, though. You didn't have to play that way either, though, Danny. If you didn't have that trauma, you were fucking good enough to not play that way.
I know that, Cam. And so I look back on my career and I ask myself, why did I play that way? That's not who I am. That's not the person that I am at all. Like, I'm not that person. So what was that? And I truly believe it's because of the trauma that I sustained, right? It's the narrative that I was being told. So that's my point with all of this and circling back. And I know that others have different experiences. I've been woken up to the real world, and I'm sorry, like, the hockey world is just not the real world. It's small and it's insular and it's just not the real world.
I don't disagree with that. And listen, hear me out here, man. Nobody should have to endure or live a life where they're miserable, where they're unhappy. And I am genuinely, and I mean this, man, so hear me out, happy for you that you found a way to rehabilitate yourself, to allow yourself to wake up, live a productive life, a happy life, and you found a way to leave your previous life as a hockey player in the rearview mirror, because a lot of people can't. They hang on to that forever. They only identify as being a professional athlete or being a hockey player.
I'm a radio guy now.
It's listen, I look at it, man, listen, it's good conversation to have. I respect you for coming on here. I appreciate it, and I hope we meet face to face.
And Andy, thank you for the kind words, man.
I mean honestly, that. I
appreciate it. No, I know you do, man.
He does mean it. If he didn't mean that, he wouldn't be my fucking partner in this whole situation either. So trust me, he could be a little something sometimes, but he does mean that.
Like, I don't have a horse in the race, but
yeah, it's just it's been a long couple days, man. You get a ton of hate, and just some of the ways that you were framing the questions, just but I listen. I understand.
I went to the Cam Jansen School of Journalism. Like you just.
So,
I love it.
Hey,
anyway, boys,
stay positive and help educate people in a message that you want to come across, and people who want to get combative and whatever, man. You just gotta move the other way, because otherwise your message gets lost in translation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no doubt. I agree. I agree with that to some extent, but then there's also, I don't have an agenda. So those people that think that I won't respond to them, I will. Sometimes. So there's also that.
All right, buddy.
Yeah, boys.
Do your thing.
I appreciate it.
Hey, we're gonna have a forum. We're gonna have a forum here in St. Louis, a town hall. I'm gonna host it, and we're gonna get you in town.
Have a panel. We should do a panel somewhere.
Let's do a panel.
Do it for charity. Donate it.
Right on, big boy. Hey, drive safe. I'll see you in a couple hours.
Okay, see you, boys.
See you, buddy.
Yeah. 24 brings us our podcast each and every week here on the Cam and Strick Podcast. You know what COPE stands for, Cam?
Copenhagen.
Well, that was close. Changing our parenting experience. COPE 24 is a St. Louis-based advocacy nonprofit founded by the one and only author, speaker, Renee Howitt, man. She brings the heat.
She does.
And she is getting it done here in St. Louis, and we love the fact that she's supporting us here on the Cam and Strick Podcast. Or is it the Strick and Cam Podcast?
No. You got it right the first time. Don't screw things up.
Okay, all right. COPE 24 promotes the need to make parenting and child development education a priority. This includes high schools and reaching all students. Don't forget their annual fundraising gala is coming up this Saturday, December 7th at River City Casino.
Ooh.
That starts at 6 o'clock. Visit the COPE 24 website, cope24.com. There are some tickets available. You also can show your support by making a donation at www.cope24.com.